Okay, so today we're taking a deep dive into Cash App.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah, maybe you use it all the time. Maybe you've just heard all the crazy stories.
Unbad.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We want to get to the bottom of it all. So we've got a whole stack of stuff to dig through.
Really a lot.
News articles, people sharing their experiences on Reddit, even a class action settlement website. No stone unturned, right?
Sounds like a lot of drama.
We're cutting through all the hype to give you the real story,
Love it.
the stuff you actually need to know.
Well, and it's interesting, right? Just how massively popular Cash App's become,
Oh, yeah.
especially since the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
But even though it feels like you're using a bank,
Right.
it's technically a financial platform.
Okay.
So they partner with actual banks, like Sutton Bank and Stride Bank.
Oh, so they're like the middleman.
Exactly, for those core banking services.
So convenient, but maybe a bit more complicated than it looks at first glance.
Yeah, a little bit.
And it seems like all that convenience might come with a downside. We found this article in Parade. They just straight up call Cash App Scam Central.
Wow, really?
Yeah, and they list out 10 of the most common scams.
10.
It's crazy. Some of these are wild.
So what kind of scams are we talking about?
Well, it's alarming how many of them just play on people's trust.
Oh, no.
Like, someone pretending to be from Cash App support.
Classic.
We read about this guy, Alex Maston.
Okay.
Lost a ton of money because he got a call.
From someone he thought was legit.
Exactly, thought he was talking to Cash App.
Well, wait a minute. So Cash App doesn't actually offer phone support?
Nope.
That's a huge red flag.
Yeah, isn't it?
Yeah.
They only do support through the app's chat.
So anyone calling you?
Claiming to be Cash App.
Big. Nope. Instant suspicion.
Yeah, they're counting on people not knowing that.
Wow. Okay. So that's good to remember.
Chat only, no phone calls.
Got it.
But then there's this other scam that's kind of like preying on hope,
Of the hope.
Yeah, like people wanting a good deal.
Oh, right. Yeah.
The Parade article talks about super cheap concert tickets.
Okay. Yeah.
Even pets being sold through Cash App.
Like outrageously cheap.
Way too good to be true.
Exactly. And the thing is, Cash App doesn't have buyer protection.
Right, unlike some other platforms.
So it's risky.
Yeah, if you send money for that amazing deal,
To just disappear. Poof.
it makes me glad I'm a little cynical.
Yeah, I'd be suspicious right away.
But then there's this even sneakier thing, this like bait and switch.
Oh, what's that?
So imagine you're like just scrolling through your Cash App
Okay.
for this guy, Kevin and Gwen,
Mm-hmm.
and suddenly you get $1,000 deposited in your account.
Out of nowhere.
Out of the blue.
That's got to feel good for a second.
Right. But here's the thing.
What?
That money is often from, like, shady sources. And as soon as you try to do anything with it, it's gone.
Oh, wow. So it's like you didn't even do anything wrong.
Right. Just caught in the middle.
That's scary.
It is. So the lesson there is any unexpected money, report it right away to Cash App. Don't even touch it.
Yeah, definitely better safe than sorry.
Right. And then, of course, you've got your classic scams.
So, yeah, those never go away.
The ones asking for upfront payment to release your winnings.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Or trying to trick you into giving up your social security number.
It's like the scammer's greatest hits collection.
Right. But people still fall for them.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So, okay, we've got individual scammers running wild, but then there's the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau.
The CFPB.
Yeah, they just hit Cash App with a massive fine.
How massive are we talking?
$175 million
Bro.
for how they're handling fraud claims.
So this isn't just like some random internet complaint.
No, this is serious stuff.
Wow. And what exactly are they saying Cash App did wrong?
Well, it covers a pretty long period, like 2019 to 2023.
So several years.
Yeah, and the CFPB is saying Cash App wasn't doing enough to prevent fraud in the first place. And their customer service was failing people who were victims.
So on both ends, they weren't protecting their users.
Yeah, that's the gist of it.
Wow. That's pretty bad.
But at least some of that money is going back to the people who got hurt, right?
Oh, that's good.
$120 million of it, if I read this right.
That's a silver lining for sure.
Definitely.
And what about Block, the company that owns Cash App?
Well, they've said they're making customer service improvements,
Okay.
although they don't agree with everything the CFPB is claiming.
Interesting.
Sounds like damage control, but the CFPB isn't letting them off easy.
No, definitely not.
It's a message to the whole fintech world, don't you think?
What do you mean?
They can't just prioritize growth and ignore these problems.
Yeah, you're right.
Actions have consequences.
For sure. And this fine isn't the only thing Block Inc. is dealing with.
Oh, what else is there?
There's this $15 million class action settlement.
Oh, wow.
It's related to data breaches on Cash App
Okay, and when did these breaches happen?
between August 2018 and August 2024.
That's a pretty big window.
Yeah, so anyone who used Cash App during that time and experienced fraud, unauthorized charges, or even just had to pay for credit monitoring because of all this, they might be eligible to file a claim.
Okay, so a lot of potential people affected.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
are there specific things they can claim compensation for?
They're very specific about what losses they'll cover.
Okay.
Financial losses up to $2,500, credit monitoring fees,
Yeah.
even lost time spent dealing with the breach.
It's not just about the money, it's acknowledging the disruption.
Right, exactly.
And if this applies to you, listener, the deadline to file a claim is November 18th, 2024, with a final hearing on January 13th, 2025.
Don't miss out.
You can get all the details and forms on the official website,
Which is?
casshapsecuritysettlement.com.
Okay, we'll link that in the show notes too, just in case.
So we've got the headlines, the legal stuff.
Yeah.
But what's the reality for people actually using Cash App?
Right.
What are they saying about all of this? We took a deep dive into some Reddit threads.
Okay.
Things get pretty intense.
Really?
Oh, yeah. You really see the frustration and vulnerability.
Makes sense.
They're sharing stories about getting scammed, dealing with payments that get reversed, ending up with negative balances. It's rough.
It's a lot to deal with.
One thing that kept coming up was, what happens when a scammer manages to reverse a payment?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question.
It seems like Cash App doesn't always have your back in those situations.
So you could be stuck with the loss.
Yeah, it's a huge concern.
It highlights that the system isn't perfect.
Right.
While Cash App's working on security, scams are still happening.
Yeah.
And sometimes users are left to deal with the consequences.
And reading those Reddit threads, it really hit me. It goes beyond the financial impact. People are talking about the emotional stress,
Oh, right.
feeling violated,
Oh, yeah.
the struggle to get help.
That's a lot to deal with.
It's a powerful reminder that behind all the statistics, the news stories, there are real people.
Real people being affected.
Their lives are being turned upside down by this stuff.
Yeah, it's easy to forget that.
And you know what I found fascinating in those Reddit threads?
What's that?
Almost disturbing.
Oh,
You had some users, despite knowing the risks, saying that they almost wish they'd get targeted by one of those too-good-to-be-true scams.
really?
They were in such a tough spot financially.
Wow.
It almost seemed like a viable option.
That's a really good point.
It speaks to the desperation some people are facing.
Yeah,
In their minds, even a risky scam might seem like a lifeline.
right. Makes you think.
Makes me wonder, are we doing enough to address those underlying issues?
The things that make people vulnerable to scams.
Exactly. It's a much bigger conversation.
It is. It goes way beyond just Cash App.
We need to think about the systemic factors.
And how we can create systems that offer more support and security for everyone.
Right. Okay, so we've talked scams, we've talked about individual impact, but we can't ignore the fact that Block Inc., Cash App's parent company, they've been having their own run-ins with the law.
Oh, yeah. What happened?
They were just hit with an $80 million penalty
$80 million.
for violating the Bank Secrecy Act.
Also called the BSA.
Right, and anti-money-laundering laws, or AML.
So for those of us who aren't finance pros, what do those laws even mean?
Why should we care?
Well, essentially, the BSA and AML laws are there to prevent serious financial crime,
Okay.
like money laundering and terrorism financing.
Wow.
They require any financial institution to have strong systems in place to detect and report any suspicious activity.
So they're trying to make sure money isn't being used for illegal purposes.
Exactly.
So in this case, Block Inc. got slapped on the wrist for not doing a good enough job of catching that kind of activity.
That's the gist of it.
Not a good look.
No, definitely not.
And what are they doing to fix it?
Well, they've agreed to hire an independent consultant to review and improve their whole BSAML program.
So they're trying to prove they're serious about complying with these rules.
Yeah, it seems like it.
It feels like this whole Cash App situation,
Yeah.
the scams, the fines against Block Inc., it's raising some big questions about how responsible these fintech companies really are.
What do you mean?
They're offering these super convenient services,
Right.
but are they doing enough to protect their users, A&D, operate within the law?
It's a tricky balance, isn't it?
Yeah.
On one hand, they're innovating, making financial services more accessible,
Right.
but they have to prioritize security and compliance too.
Other way.
They're creating opportunities for fraud and abuse.
And it's not just on the companies, is it?
What do you mean?
Users have to be savvy too,
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
aware of the risks. taking steps to protect themselves.
For sure.
So knowing how these scams work,
Right.
spotting the red flags,
Yep.
being careful about who you interact with.
And what information you share.
Exactly. That's crucial.
Yeah, you can't just assume everything's safe.
So we've covered a lot of ground here, a lot to digest.
Definitely.
We've got more to explore in this deep dive, so stick with us.
Ooh, can't wait.
We'll be right back.
Sounds good.
Okay, so we've seen all of these scams and regulatory issues swirling around Cash App.
Yeah, it's a lot.
But let's take a step back and talk about the app itself.
Sure.
You mentioned earlier it's a financial platform, not a bank.
Right.
What does that actually mean for someone using it, like, every day?
That's a really good question.
Yeah.
It's a distinction a lot of people miss.
Okay.
Sure, Cash App, it lets you do a lot of the same stuff as your regular bank. Sending money, receiving it. You can even set up direct deposit.
You get a debit card.
Yeah, you even get a debit card, exactly.
So it feels very bank-like.
It does, but because they're not a bank themselves, they rely on these partnerships with places like Sutton Bank to handle the core banking functions.
So it's kind of like Cash App is the storefront, all bright and shiny.
Yeah, I like that analogy.
But behind the scenes, there's a whole other bank doing the heavy lifting.
You got it. And that can have big implications for things like FDIC insurance.
Oh, right. That protects your money if a bank goes under.
Exactly.
With the traditional bank account, your deposits are usually insured up to, what, like $250,000?
Yeah, $250,000.
But since Cash App isn't the actual bank,
right,
that insurance might not apply the same way.
It's worth checking the details.
So, listener, this is where doing your research really matters.
Absolutely.
Before you just jump into any financial platform.
Especially one that's not a traditional bank.
We got to dig a little deeper.
Yeah, ask those questions.
Who are they really? Who are they partnered with? What kind of protections are actually in place for your money?
Exactly. It's your hard-earned cash.
And it's worth noting, Cash App also lets users buy and sell Bitcoin.
Oh, yeah.
Even stocks. It's become this popular way for people to get into investing.
Especially younger folks.
Yeah, it's like they're trying to be your one-stop shop for all things money, all in this, like, slick app.
Yeah, and I get the appeal.
Right.
For sure.
But doesn't that also, like, increase the risk?
It definitely adds another layer of complexity.
Yeah.
As with any kind of investing, there are risks involved.
Right.
You got to do your research.
Understand the market.
And, of course, remember all those scams we talked about?
Yeah, don't forget about those.
Right.
All right, so we've covered the good, the bad, the kind of shady parts of Cash App.
It's a mixed bag.
What's the bottom line for our listener?
Okay, well, first and foremost, knowledge is power.
Love it.
The more you understand about how Cash App works, the better.
Makes sense.
What are the potential pitfalls? How can you protect yourself? Don't let the convenience blind you to the dangers.
It's like with any tool, right?
What do you mean?
A hammer can build a house, or it can smash your thumb.
Oh, good point.
You got to know how to use it.
Absolutely. Be skeptical.
Do your research.
And if something sounds too good to be true,
it probably is.
That old saying definitely applies here.
Tenfold.
Especially in the world of fintech.
And if you do run into trouble,
yeah,
don't hesitate to report it.
To Cash App.
To the authorities, if you need to.
Yeah, absolutely. There are resources available to help.
If you've been scammed or your data's been compromised, don't suffer in silence.
There's no shame in asking for help.
You know, one thing that really struck me while we were prepping for this deep dive was this disconnect between how Cash App is marketed and the reality some people are experiencing.
Interesting. What do you mean?
You see those ads, all bright colors, happy people sending money back and forth. It feels fun, easy.
Carefree.
But then you read these stories from people who've been scammed, lost money.
Dealt with terrible customer service.
It's like two different worlds.
Yeah.
Almost like cognitive dissonance. The marketing paints this rosy picture.
But then you have the messy reality.
Of actually using the app. Right. So it's a good reminder.
Well, for that.
Don't take things at face value.
Even with something like a money app.
Dig a little deeper. Ask the tough questions.
Yeah.
Make informed decisions about who you trust with your finances.
I couldn't agree more.
It's on us as users to take that responsibility.
Absolutely.
We can't just blindly rely on companies to have our best interests at heart.
We have to be proactive.
Well said. This deep dive has given me a lot to think about.
Me too.
Hopefully it's done the same for you, listener.
Yeah.
We're not done yet, though.
Oh.
We've got more to explore.
More to uncover.
Stick with us for the final part of our Cash App exploration.
Okay. Looking forward to it.
Okay, so before we took that little break,
we
were talking about how tech could maybe actually help with all this Cash App chaos.
Right, right.
Could AI or blockchain, actually prevent some of these scams we've been talking about?
Well, it's definitely possible. I mean, AI is already being used by some financial institutions
Okay.
to spot fraudulent transactions.
Oh, wow. So in real time.
Yeah, like as they're happening.
So these algorithms are
They can analyze huge amounts of data.
looking for patterns and stuff.
Exactly, patterns, anomalies.
That's a point to a scam.
Right?
So it's like having this superpowered watchdog
Like that.
constantly monitoring your transactions, sniffing out anything that seems off.
Yeah, that's a good analogy.
Because AI can process so much information so quickly,
Yeah.
it could be a really valuable tool,
To combat the sheer volume of scams.
especially on platforms like Cash App.
Absolutely.
But what about those scams that rely more on trickery?
Yeah, good point.
Like, social engineering.
Right, where they're impersonating customer support or luring people in with fake promises.
Can AI help with that too?
Well, AI is getting much better,
Yeah.
recognizing and responding to natural language.
Oh.
So it's possible it could flag suspicious messages.
Even ones that might seem convincing to a person.
Potentially, yeah.
Wow, so it'd be like having a built-in scam detector right there in the app,
Kind of, yeah.
warning you before you even respond to a scammer.
That's the idea.
That's pretty cool.
It is. But of course, AI isn't perfect.
Right.
Scammers are always finding new ways to get around security.
So it's like a constant arms race.
It really is.
Okay, AI sounds promising, but what about blockchain?
Oh, blockchain.
How could that help make Cash App safer?
Well, one of the big things about blockchain
Yeah.
is its immutability.
Immutability.
It means that once a transaction is recorded,
On the blockchain,
yeah, it's permanent.
can't be changed.
Can't be altered.
So this would make it much harder for scammers to, reverse payments or create fake transactions.
This is exactly.
So it's like having this unbreakable, tamper-proof ledger of every transaction,
I like that.
making it way harder for scammers to cover their tracks.
And because blockchain is decentralized, it could potentially reduce our reliance on intermediaries like Cash App itself
Give users more control.
over their funds.
Reduce the risk of, a single point of failure.
Exactly.
It sounds like both AI and blockchain have a lot of potential
Yeah.
to address these vulnerabilities.
Mm-hmm.
But you said earlier tech is just one piece of the puzzle.
It is.
What else needs to happen to make Cash App and other platforms like it truly safer?
Well, companies need to make security a top priority
Okay.
and be willing to invest in these technologies.
Right. Put their money where their mouth is.
Exactly. They need to build systems that are strong, adaptable, able to keep up with how fast scammers are evolving.
Because it's not just about adopting the latest tech, it's about using it effectively.
Right.
And making sure those systems are constantly being updated as new threats emerge.
That's a huge challenge.
It is. It really requires a collaborative effort, doesn't it?
Yeah. Companies, regulators,
We
users
all need to work together.
to create a safer financial ecosystem.
So it's about education, awareness, shared responsibility.
Not just pointing fingers.
We've got to be proactive,
And push for policies and regulations that encourage innovation.
but also protect consumers.
It's a delicate balance for sure.
Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
We have.
We've explored the good, the bad, and the ugly of Cash App.
The whole spectrum.
Talked about scams, regulatory challenges, the potential of technology.
It's a complex landscape.
But hopefully this has given you, the listener, the info you need.
To navigate it safely.
So, to wrap things up,
Yeah.
here's what I want to leave you with. Cash App, like any financial tool, has its benefits and its risks.
You gotta weigh them.
The key is to use it wisely
With awareness.
and caution.
Don't be fooled by flashy marketing.
Or promises that sound too good to be true.
Right.
Do your research, stay informed.
And remember.
When it comes to your money, it's always better to err on the side of caution.
Absolutely.
And never underestimate the power of knowledge.
The more you understand about the risks,
And the tools to protect yourself,
the better equipped you'll be.
to make smart decisions and avoid becoming a victim.
Well said.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of Cash App.
It's been a journey.
Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and stay safe out there.
We'll see you next time.